for 9:15.
This is gonna be bad.
And ladies and gentlemen, we're back with another RotoHackers podcast. My name is AJ Herschel the Kid. On my, I guess this is my left. I don't know whose side it is. Over there is the absolute stud. It's Jared. And over there we've got Judahbuddha, who apparently has a formal apology for us. But Jared,
For shame.
what is up with the sunglasses?
I think I know. I think he's in a new business. He's in the business of making relish.
Oh, I see where this is going.
AJ,
Yes.
I'm wearing these sunglasses because this is an emotional time.
Mm-hmm.
We had a terrible loss in the RotoHackers family over the weekend.
Oh, no.
It was the death of Judahbuddha's fantasy football dignity.
Oh, no.
I'm
not. Oh, my goodness.
I can't really call it an accident. It wasn't really accidental. What you have to understand is that there are a lot of famous sayings in the world of wrestling. You're about to go one-on-one with the great one, or to be the man, you have to beat the man, or the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. Let me tell you what happened this week.
Please.
You know what? Let's just skip it.
Go ahead.
Let me tell you. Let me tell you what happened this week. See, this was week 10. This is the week that you play through your schedule a second time. Now, I've had a lot of good teams this year, but one of them has stood out above the rest by going unbeaten through the first 9 games. But wait, I was about to play a brash young man who really wanted to beat me the first time, and it did not go so well. It did not go so well, but this time, AJ, it was going to be different.
Oh, okay.
This time, it was going to be different because I had 7 players on bye, including DeAndre Hopkins, Phillip Lindsay, and the New England defense. And because I had three starters out with injury, James Conner, Matthew Stafford, and Evan Ingram.
Impossible odds.
I was a 40 point underdog, AJ.
Oh my goodness.
I decided, you know what? It's not worth it. I'm 9-0. I'm going to make the playoffs. I could drop some of these guys and throw some Hail Mary to try to win this game, but I am not that prideful.
There you go.
That is not who I am as a person, right?
Fantasy dignity, folks.
So I had basically chalked it up as a loss. But then my opponent, he started trash talking me.
Oh, no.
He started trash talking me during the week. He started telling me basically no excuses. That my circumstances didn't matter. He was going
These are lies.
He was going to relish this win. He used that word repeatedly. Relish this win.
Yeah.
So I said, okay. But you better not lose. You better not lose this game. If you're going to go in on this, you better not lose this game.
Yep.
Well, you know what they say? Pride comes before the fall.
Oh, of course.
You know what happened, AJ? You know what happened after that 40-point deficit that I was facing?
What happened, Jared?
I didn't even start a quarterback. I started Matthew Stafford. Left Matthew Stafford in my lineup. No points. No points from quarterback. I won.
No.
I won.
No.
I won by double digits.
Oh! Stop it. Stop it.
I won. I you know what? I thought about this because I was down by 7 points. I was down by 7 points, and I could have ended this Sunday night. I could have ended this Sunday night. I saw Randall Cobb out there on the waiver wire. Because see, again, I didn't want to drop people, but I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to have to drop some guys anyway. Matt Stafford's hurt. I'm going to need a new quarterback next week. I don't have another. I'm going to have to drop him anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So why not? And I could end this Sunday night. I thought Randall Cobb was going to have a pretty good game.
Of course.
I thought he was going to have a pretty good game. And I thought, you know what? No. After all that I've been trash talked this week, I want that existential dread. I want my opponent to experience that existential dread for one more day, to just go through Monday. I want him to go through Monday knowing what's going to happen, but being powerless to stop it. I want him to go through Monday hoping, praying, bargaining with the universe to please somehow let him preserve this win, knowing all the while that it was never going to happen.
Oh my goodness.
I was going to beat him like Derrick Henry beat up on that KC run defense.
This is going to be a bad night for me.
I was going to beat him like a college freshman delivering an intellectual beatdown to Ben Shapiro. And so I did. I picked up Deebo Samuel, and I picked up Ross Dwelly. Deebo Samuel, over 100 yards, pretty much a career game for him, just like I called it with Christian Kirk and his career game.
Oh, yes, 34.
And I won. Now, and just to close here, I don't want there to be any misunderstanding here. I don't want to undersell this. This was the single greatest victory in the history of fantasy football.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
Without question. You can put Michael Jordan's flu game, Kurt Schilling's bloody sock game, all of Tom Brady's Super Bowl rings. Put them together. They don't equal this. That's all I got.
What a week. What a week. My goodness. Judahbuddha. Have you heard any of this from Jared? Is any of this ring a bell?
I've been taking relish shots all weekend.
I changed my team name to I actually downloaded a picture of actual relish off the internet. It was like Mount Olive's sweet relish. And I photoshopped it and changed it to say Jared's sweet relish. And that was what was on the screen when Judah saw that final score.
It is. Look,
beautiful.
I cursed myself, man. As soon as I started talking about relishing,
comes out.
From now on, if you guys want a player to do really poorly, just tell me. I'll just say something outlandishly like negative about them, and they will go off next week. And I'll pull out some relish, slab it down on a player or on an opponent, and they will go off.
You can't do that too.
I bow to the greatness that is Jared.
There it is.
You know what? He's not going to get any more losses from here for the rest. I think he's going to have the perfect season.
Oh, I don't think so. I don't. See, the thing is,
don't be modest. That's not. You just came down from the greatest fantasy deficit of all time.
That's true, but it's not even like close to being my best team. Like it was just fortunate. So Judah could still win the league. We're gonna both make the playoffs. What's fun, but although it is a little extra nice too, because with that victory, I got that little asterisk right next to my team name where it says that you've qualified for the playoffs. So that was a little extra nice too. But we'll see how it works out. He could still win the playoffs. He could still come back and win the league. We're both going to make it.
See, ladies and gentlemen, this is fantasy football at its finest. You utterly humiliate your opponent, relish the victory, and then come out completely modest. You can't get any better than that. Ladies and gentlemen, you are looking at the absolute fantasy stud.
He's going to go 17-0 or 16-0. 16-0.
There you go. 72 Dolphins. Watch
he's just
out.
trying to revert. He just got through explaining his strategy of how if you want the opposite to happen, so that he's trying to speak this into existence that I'll go 0-6 the rest of the way.
He's gonna get over 150 points every game from now on, especially week 15.
No. Oh my goodness. There you go.
You know, I can unmute myself.
Yes, I know. Now I believe.
All right, let's talk some real fantasy.
But we got to live up to our thumbnail, though. I spent a full 3 minutes working on this thumbnail today. Probably the one I put the least work in out of all.
Kick a man while he's down.
And Judahbuddha has a formal apology to give today. Take it away, Judahbuddha.
All right. All right, Derrick Henry. Listen, made a lot of mistakes in my life. I've besmirched.
Shepherd over Juju is one of them.
I've besmirched men who did not deserve to be put down. I've sullied the names of people who ended up being more righteous than me. But you, Derrick Henry, you have proved to me that you are an absolute fantasy goldmine. And anybody who uses you from now on will win every game from here on out. That I promise. The end.
I'm not sure how much of it. All right, there we go. We'll take it.
I told him that he just needs like a standard form for apologies to running backs and he can just switch the names out for each one of them.
Yes, absolutely.
Chris Carson, and Derrick Henry both.
Yep.
Look, Chris Carson, that was a real apology. Derrick Henry he's going to be awesome. He's going to be amazing.
Okay.
There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, Derrick Henry has officially joined the ranks of people who Judahbuddha has had to apologize to, along with Chris Carson, Chris Carson, Juju Smith-Schuster, and the absolute stud, Jared. Ladies and gentlemen, this is prime RotoHackers content. It doesn't get much better than this.
Oh, man. Can we get into some real fantasy football?
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Jared's Sweet Relish today.
We had to just, first 10 minutes or so was just a little family business. Have to take care of that up front.
Absolutely. There we go. That's how we get it started today. So we'll give Judahbuddha a little bit of a break. We'll give him just a little bit of a break, just a little bit. And guys, what were your thoughts on this week? We'll get it. Other than the fact that we had the greatest fantasy comeback of all time. What did you think, Jared? You want to start us off?
Well, that was. I don't know. Oddly enough, I didn't need that game, but it ended up being such an entertaining game. But my others though, I had some games that I needed to win. I had some 5-4 teams, especially in a couple of 6-3 teams too that needed a win, and most of them got it. So I think 13 of my 17 teams are 6-4 or better. So that's pretty good shape because then there's 4 regular season games left. If you split those two, you've got a shot to make it into the playoffs. That doesn't, if you're 8-6, you could still, you could lose on points, but 8-6 gives you a chance. If you win 3 of those 4, then you're in good shape. But so I've got a handful of teams that are 6-4, and then most of them are 7 or in better shape than that. They're 7-3 or better. So I'm feeling pretty good right now. It was a good week for me. Another good week this next week would help too. But it was nice to get most people, even though it was weird in my league with Judah, where I just almost my entire team was on bye. In most other leagues, I'd gotten my guys back. And so that had been hurting me for a couple of weeks. I'd had a couple of down weeks and getting those guys back. So I think I finished overall 12-5 this week. And so I got a bunch of wins I needed. And so looking pretty good going into these last 4 games of the regular season.
Nice. Judahbuddha.
You know what?
Give us some positive news from you.
Apology. There's no positive news. I mean, I had a decent week, but you know who owes me an apology? Is Cooper Kupp. He can beepity, beepity, beepity.
But was it his fault or Jared Goff's fault? Was it another Jared screwing you over?
2 Jareds screwed me over this weekend. But on top of that, you know what? In 3 leagues, I had Cooper Kupp and I had David Johnson.
Oof.
I lost those leagues. One of those leagues was my love-hate. I had like a love-hate relationship with my guillotine league, and I was cut because of those. I got zeros. I got -2 from David Johnson. Yeah. This guy, I don't think I can ever play him again without. I just have such animosity for him now.
Wow.
I think he may be the juju going forward. Like he may be the juju of running backs going forward, where like they ask is it Cliff Kingsbury? I forget the guy. Yeah. So they ask him like, what happened? Why did Drake end up getting most of the touches? And he basically said it wasn't an injury issue, it was a performance issue. So it's looking like Drake may be the guy. I'm sure part of the deal is with David Johnson injury, but not like a specific acute injury as much as just the compilation of injuries wearing his body down. So I don't know that he's going to be the starter going forward, which is why that deal that I got offered while we were on podcast Saturday, where I get Hopkins and Damian Williams and gave up David Johnson and Darren Waller, that's looking pretty good now because that was my last David Johnson share. So I am officially out of the David Johnson business.
I wish I could get out of it. I don't know if you'll have. I don't know. Damon Williams and who's the other guy?
DeAndre. I got DeAndre. He's a top 10 wide receiver.
I don't know. I worry about him. He's another league I'm struggling in because of him. That was the league. I have him. I have Cooper Kupp, and I have David Johnson all in the same league. And it feels like every week one of them gives me either a really good game or a really terrible game. And usually it's 2 of them giving me really low games.
The combo. Yeah. I'm kind of salty right now for my week because one of my friends in a league of mine vetoed a trade in which I was going to get Derrick Henry. And it was the deciding vote. And the trade didn't go through. And I'm mad because I said, hey, I thought it was a pretty fair trade. Why'd you turn it down? Wait, what was the trade? I don't remember. And he just clicked veto without looking at the trade and not understanding that my friend who I was trading with didn't have a quarterback because he had Watson and Brady on bye. So we were swapping a couple players, and so the trade didn't go through till today. And I have Henry on bye week now, and I'm 4-6. So that's great. Other than that,
was I the friend? Because I vetoed it too.
You vetoed it too?
Yeah.
Okay. No, I wasn't talking about you. Different person. But most of the leagues where I needed wins, I got them. That one hurt, but most of my leagues looks like I'm making the playoffs. Honestly, for week 10, I'm genuinely shocked by the clinic the Atlanta Falcons put on the Saints.
Yeah.
That is what I'm shocked about. They held them to under 10 points. There was the Falcons came out of nowhere. Honestly, even though fantasy-wise, nobody particularly did insane or great, well, still, the Falcons defense blew up.
It wasn't so much the Falcons defense as much as it was the Saints offensive line. The Saints offensive line has been top 5 all year, and then all of a sudden this week, it was like they were all playing different games, or they all had different plan in their head. They were not playing as a team. It was a sieve. They were letting their defensive line through every play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but still, Atlanta got the win. That's what mattered. That's going to hurt the Saints going forward.
It's probably going to hurt the Falcons going forward too, because Dan Quinn will now get like a 4-year extension for that one win. So that was probably like, it's funny because people were like, oh, the Falcons, but it probably ends up hurting the Falcons more in the long term, because they at least now keep Quinn through the end of the year, and it would not shock me to see them like re-sign him to like a 2-year deal or something. It wouldn't shock me at all.
Yeah. And they lost Hooper, and they lost
they lost Hooper and Devonta. Devonta's only supposed to
Freeman.
Yeah, Devonta's only supposed to be out a couple of weeks. Hooper last I saw, it was like iffy.
Yeah. But I think actually Freeman's going to be longer. It depends. I think it depends. We'll talk about waiver wires and what to do there, but it depends on what Hill does.
Yeah. I still found the one thing funny that Ryan Fitzpatrick is trying his hardest not to get the Dolphins to draft Tua Tagovailoa. It is cracking me up. I saw this one thing a while back where, I don't know, maybe I've told you this, Ryan Fitzpatrick's pretending to be in Ocean's 11 or whatever. And they're like, I've assembled the greatest NFL con men quarterbacks. But Fitzy, you've already stolen millions from the Titans, Texans, Bucks, Dolphins. What are you going to do now? I'm going to steal the starting quarterback job for the Dolphins. And he just moves on to the next team. And that's what he's doing. The Dolphins beat the Colts, who beat the Chiefs.
My favorite meme from that was like a Dolphins defense like pose. Like, I don't think they got maybe it was from where they'd gotten just a turnover or something before, because I don't think they've gotten a defensive touchdown, but they were all like posing in the end zone. And if it was like, if you weren't a fan of us when we were 0-7, don't be a fan of us when we're 2-7.
That is hilarious.
It was great.
What does their schedule look like? Because I don't think it's too difficult. They could win out.
Who, the Dolphins?
Yeah.
It almost doesn't matter now, because the Bengals are still winless, right? So I mean, are the Bengals going to win 2 more games? Plus the Dolphins and Bengals play each other. Yeah. So like the Bengals are looking at
I'm just saying, the Dolphins could really screw up their chances of getting a good draft pick like early on.
I don't think that much. I don't think they can mess it up that much, because they still have to play the Patriots at the end of the year. They still got the Eagles. I think they're going to lose to the Bills probably.
Watch Belichick like sit all his guys. He's been known to sit all his guys.
Not another Miami Miracle, please.
Oh man, it could happen. I don't know. I haven't even thought about what the implications would be if the Dolphins just win the rest of their games, because they play like Washington. Who do they play? I have to look at their schedule, but it's
you've got Bills, Browns, Eagles, Jets, Giants, Bengals, and then Patriots in week 17.
Let's not get carried away here. Let's keep in mind who they beat. They beat the Jets, who Sam Darnold.
They're playing again. Okay.
Yeah. Who they're playing? Well, yeah, I'm not saying they can't win another game or that they won't win more games, but they're not winning out. Like you're starting to accumulate like too many teams in the win out column here. Who was the other one the other day that you're like, they're going to win out? The Chargers. Yeah.
See, that's another team I curse.
The Chargers got destroyed. Yeah. So slow the roll on like bad teams winning out here.
I think the Patriots are going to win out. I think they're going to win the Super Bowl.
The Patriots might win.
Wow. What a prediction.
So the Dolphins beat the Jets, and Sam Darnold, who actually I started in a league last week because I'm like, all right, I need a quarterback and everybody else is gone. So he had 21 plus points, like between 21 and 22 points, because he was back home. Like back home. I mean, yeah, we had that game against New England, but that was more of like the fact that he was playing New England. Like normally at home, he's not, he like falling to pieces. But so they played the Jets, and Darnold is terrible on the road. So they beat them. And then the Colts, like, I don't know what the deal is with the Colts. I kind of just want the Colts to lose because I want them to like get a draft pick and take another quarterback again. Like Jacoby Brissett is fine, but like I'm an NFL fan and I want my team to have an elite quarterback, and I don't think he's going to be elite. So anyway, but the Colts were down to their backup, Brian Hoyer. Their top 3 receivers, T.Y. Hilton, Devin Funchess, and Paris Campbell were all out. And just they're just weird. Like, yeah, the Colts beat the Chiefs, but like the Chiefs had lost like 3 straight home games, and then they lost to the Titans, and like the Chiefs are not the Chiefs from last year. So so they're just like that game's kind of a fluke. So the Dolphins can win some stuff, but like they're not winning out. So they'll have a high pick. They're not going to have the number 1 pick probably, but they should still have, top
they
5,
they traded for a lot of picks, right? Like
they got tons of picks.
Yeah.
They got tons of picks. Yeah. So
Thomas H has got a question for us, and it correlates to me and the Colts because I started Zach Pascal over Joe Mixon.
Same.
I lost
Told
by
you not to.
I lost by 0.9.
Ooh.
But in that league, I was 7-2, so I'm okay. But that still hurt.
No, I didn't have Mixon to start him over, but I did start Pascal, and I mean, it didn't matter. He didn't hurt me really, but if your game was close, he hurt you. So
yeah, that brings up a good point though, because Thomas H says Mixon's broken double digits 2 weeks in a row. We're still scared to start him. What do you guys think?
Well, I mean, it is a little bit matchup dependent, but for me, look, man, Mixon is really good. If he gets out in space, he's really hard to stop, and he has a nose for the end zone. I wouldn't be afraid of starting him. I mean, it depends on like who you're starting him over or what his matchup is, but I think he's fine.
This week against Oakland, what do you think?
I'm gonna start him.
yeah, Oakland doesn't have an intimidating defense. Melvin Gordon. Basically the Chargers stopped being able to throw, and they just ran Melvin Gordon up against them. So that's and the other thing too is like we talked about this. I think Judah even was the one who mentioned it. Is like as the season goes on, things can change. Like a defense that is really bad for the first half of the season might be great for the second half of the season, or a running game that's been bad for the first half of the season. Maybe the offensive line kind of improves a little or learns to play together a little. So, I mean, I think Mixon now is, after 2 back-to-back good games, it's almost like, the same thing with David Montgomery. David Montgomery had been terrible, which I know this week he didn't really do much of anything, but he had, two great games coming into this game. So I think it's one of those things where you can, if you're kind of desperate, it's someone you can start. And, Mixon's schedule is Oakland, Pittsburgh, the Jets, Cleveland, and then New England, and then Miami. But at least half of those are startable matchups. So I think he's startable, and, he may not be an every week starter, but he's, startable in 3 or 4 more games, maybe.
He also asked one other question. He needs to stream a quarterback for one of his teams this week. Options in this league are very slim. Kyle Allen, Fitzmagic, Sam Darnold, Nick Foles coming off injury and a bye, and Mason Rudolph. Wow, that is slim pickings.
I've got some of the same slim pickings in some of my leagues. I'm going to wait and see if anybody like who gets dropped. I like Foles for the rest of the season, but like this week, like in Indy, like even though like the Colts aren't doing that well, they're not like just letting teams blow them out. So I don't really love that one. I guess the guy that I would immediately disqualify would be Rudolph. I just never, I don't know what the scenario would have to be for me to play him. Who's Miami playing?
Yeah, we just talked about who they're playing.
Yeah.
Oakland. Right.
Wait, Miami? No, they're playing the Bills.
Or no, sorry. Yeah, it was Cincinnati we were talking about playing Oakland. So the Bills have a good pass defense. I don't want to start Fitz either. this is so painful. It's almost like process of elimination for me here, So like, okay, so Kyle Allen has been solid. The Falcons haven't been good on defense, but they just shut down. Well, not really shut down Drew Brees, but they didn't play well against him. So I mean, I think for me, it's Darnold or Foles, and I don't really want to start Darnold on the road, but one of those two. I got to think about it. Judah.
I think for me, it's clearly. See, what's interesting is in my 2-quarterback league, my 2 quarterbacks are Kyle Allen and Foles. I held on to Foles. Wow. My other one was the Red Rocket. Can never remember his name.
Andy Dalton.
Andy Dalton.
Andy Dalton.
But so I would say Kyle Allen. I really like the trajectory for Kyle Allen has been up and up, and his schedule hasn't been great, but it really opens up starting next week, really. But this week is not bad. I think he's really going to start to go up. I think he finally has the mantle to where he's not worried about, Cam coming in and taking over from him. He is the man for the rest of the year. And he's getting more and more comfortable with that offense.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about him rest of season, though, because you said not this week, but the week after. He's playing New Orleans. I don't like that. Not against Marshawn.
No, listen, when Lattimore's injured and could be injured for a while.
We don't know how long it's going to be. It doesn't look super serious as of right now.
I think that you're going to see that defense sort of break down. It's going to be one of those that was super scary at the middle of the season, but I don't see that as being and a lot of quarterbacks have had success against them. I don't see that as a big deal.
Rock out. Eric Courier, we're gonna get to your question in a second since it's not quite fantasy relevant, or your comment, I should say. Rock out says he's got a trade offer for Waller, and he would get James Conner. His running backs are Zeke, Coleman, Singletary, and Damian Williams. Double flex, full PPR, and he can get Doyle, Hawkinson, Howard, or Kyle Rudolph off of waivers. What do you guys think about that? Waller and he gets Conner, pick up a tight end on waivers.
Yeah. For me, I'd do that. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how much I love those tight end. I mean, I might even take somebody like Hollister over some of those, because OJ Howard, I don't know how much Hawkinson has been, down most weeks. If I could get a Hollister or maybe Fells off the waiver wire, I would probably feel better about those. But yeah, I mean, I think for that, I mean, because he doesn't have a clear number 2 running back. Coleman's in a committee, he has a good week, and then a down week. Singletary, he had 8 carries. I mean, that was my worry going into last week, was what happens if they just kind of split the workload? And he did have more than Gore. But we just had that one, up week from him, and he came back and they just didn't run the ball that much. So I think he had 8 carries and Gore had 5, but 8 carries isn't going to cut it. I don't care how good you are, So Damian Williams looks like he's kind of regained the starter spot, but he's had some good weeks. But then they, part of the thing they said they held McCoy out, that was a pre-planned rest week, So, I think you need a better, clearer number 2 running back. And Conner is definitely he's a stud if he's healthy. That's just always the question. So yeah, I would do that.
I would do it. Waller is starting to fall off. I forget who the wide receiver is. Oh man,
Tyrell or Renfro?
Renfro has been getting more targets, and I think Waller is I think he's hit his peak. I don't know, but it could be. Look, James Conner's going to come back. I don't know how healthy he's going to stay, but he'll be healthy this week, maybe. And there are so many tight ends right now on the waiver wire. We're supposed to talk about the waiver wire tonight. One of my biggest pickups tonight even though he's on bye, is Hollister. I feel like he fits right into the mold, that Will Disley mold for the Seahawks. And I even think he could be better than Disley.
Yeah, Disley did not move well. Yeah.
Yeah, and he does say Fells and Hollister are there too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, Fells is like he is projected for a half a touchdown every week because he averages about 1 touchdown a week.
He's not getting a ton of targets though.
Tight ends don't get a ton of targets. Like that just doesn't happen.
Well, it depends, but
no, it doesn't. Tight ends just do not get a ton of targets.
Not always. Not always. There are exceptions. There are exceptions to the rule.
Give me one.
Austin Hooper.
Travis Kelce.
Matt Ryan. Yep.
George Kittle.
No, I mean, comparatively to the wide receivers, they're not getting as many as you think. They're just doing a lot.
Not as many as maybe not as many as a DeAndre Hopkins type number 1 wide receiver. No, but second most targets on a team.
No, they're not even getting second most. Those guys aren't even getting second most targets. Kittle's
no, it depends on who it is. Like Kelce and Hooper. All right, let's go to the numbers.
Here we go.
Numbers.
Yes.
All right.
Please.
So Travis Kelce this year, he's had in 10 games, he's been under 8 targets twice, and those were 6 and 7. Every other time, he's had 8 targets or more. And then Austin Hooper. So we'll just use these as our 2 examples. So yeah, Austin Hooper. It's ranged everywhere from he's had 5 twice, but he's had as many as 11. So
yeah, that's not a lot.
No, dude, that's a lot of targets.
5 targets? You feel like 5 targets is a lot of targets? I'll remember that.
No, they were down games. Normally, if we average it out, his targets are going to be, I'm just looking like 7 to 8 targets per game. I mean, that's a number 2. That's a number 1 wide receiver on some teams. That's a number 2 on pretty much any team.
And but you were talking about the top 2. You're talking about the top 2 tight ends right now.
You said name 1.
You did. You said name 1. And then we're like, will you settle for 5?
No. Listen, even though those are the top 2, and even they're not. I mean, like a good wide receiver gets about 7 to 12.
More. Kelce has nearly 20 more than the second place receiver on the Chiefs. He has almost 20 more. It's 81 to 65 targets.
Oh, okay. I understand that some at the very top, and he hasn't really been doing much with the targets he's been getting, but in general, I mean, you're like tight ends are not. They're not like a top 3 receiver, on the team. They're just not. Like Fells, like what you're looking for with a tight end like Fells or Hollister or any of these guys is you're just looking for them to get touchdowns or to get a lot of yards after catch.
Okay. We're going to get off this. Sorry, Jared, you want to finish something with something? You want to say something?
I was just going to say, I think it just, there's probably like a half a dozen tight ends that you can count on to average out like 7 to 8 targets.
Adam,
Hooper, Kelce, Andrews, Hunter Henry, Kittle, and
probably Waller too.
And maybe even though Waller, his is starting to dip, but and then Andrews. And so
I guarantee you Andrews is not averaging 7 targets.
He has 20 more than the second place on the Ravens, 65 to 47.
Yeah, but with the Ravens, like who is the second place? You can't even name the second place.
Hollywood Brown.
No, I doubt it.
I just looked it up.
Oh, it's Hollywood Brown, but how many does he have? He averages like 3 a game.
So he's obviously the number 1 target on the Ravens.
I mean, that's like a major running team.
Anyway, Rockout does ask, which would you go for first, Fells or Hollister?
Hollister for me because he's getting Like Fells is so touchdown dependent. Like he can get you 2 touchdowns, but that's kind of what you're counting on. And Hollister, he hadn't really shown a whole lot. Like, I mean, after Disley went down, he hasn't been in there for that long. It's only like a few games worth of sample. But he got like 10 targets. He got like 10 targets in that game. So he was like converting for yards. He wasn't just a red zone option. So for me, it's Hollister.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. I think he's got a better chance of having a better matchup. Plus, I'm still not a huge believer in Houston's offensive line. I go Hollister.
I go Fells. One thing, you don't get Hollister this week, so I mean, pencil him out. But the other thing is that I think it's gonna be hard to tell who really I don't know. I mean, now I'm thinking about who got hurt. Lockett got hurt. So
Lockett got hurt. Yeah,
it could be that Hollister benefits from that. Could be that Gordon or DK benefits from that. I'm not sure.
But between the two of them, who'd you go?
Fells.
Okay. Eric Courier also mentioned Ingram also gets a lot of targets. Thank you for that very much.
When he's playing, has he played more than 4 games?
Thomas H has asked, so when you stream kickers, do you really pay attention to matchups? Thomas H is a kicker skeptic. Ouch. He thinks the results are purely random from week to week. What's your philosophy? I have a philosophy, so someone else can go first so I can finish this off with this.
I taught you that philosophy, I
think.
You
didn't. No, you didn't.
Well, my philosophy is you play a kicker who is on a team that does not have a superstar running back or a very good running back. So if you want to see you want to play a kicker who is on a team that gets a lot of chunk plays, gets you in the red zone, but can't finish the job. Doesn't have a real good red zone in general presence. Usually that means so if they get within 5 and they don't have a running back that can punch it in, that's usually a good little sign that they're gonna be kicking a lot.
Jared, what do you think?
So my philosophy is there's a handful of kickers that I just draft them, and unless something's going wrong, I just play them. So I've got a lot of stock in Zerline. I've got a lot of stock in Tucker, a little bit of Harrison Butker, but this has been like a weird year with Mahomes out and stuff. So I have used some options other than him. Will Lutz for the Saints is another one. So I feel like if you get one of those guys, they're such good kickers. Their teams trust them to kick it. And like with the Rams, well, really with the Ravens in the past, they had an offense that could, get in range, but couldn't always put it in the end zone that much.
The question is when you stream kickers.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. Sorry. I kind of glossed over that. Okay. So streaming kickers. It is sort of, I do play, still matchups. If a team, so I streamed a lot of Tampa Bay and Arizona's kickers last week because it's going to be a high scoring game, and they're still going to be getting in the end zone a lot. But since they're not really stopping each other, the other one's going to be, they're constantly going to be in field goal range from one another. So the guy that I streamed the most was Matt Gay, and really I'll probably just stick with him for most of the year because the last 3 weeks he's been in double digits. So this week he had 14 points. I forget what, let's see what Gonzalez, Arizona's kicker, had. But he had a pretty good game too. And he had 11.
That's
11. I'll take that from a kicker.
That's a running back flex.
Yeah, I mean, if a kicker gets me in double digits, I'm happy with that. So that's basically my philosophy is to take guys that are playing bad defense, but ideally though you also want it to be something that's going to kind of be a shootout because if the Because if the other team, if it's just going to be a one-sided offensive domination, then then later on in the game, they're not necessarily going to be even trying to get in field goal range. They're just going to be burning the clock if they've got a lot of leads. So basically, my goal is to try to stream good kickers from teams that are going to be in shootouts.
Intriguing. So mine is kind of a two-parter, which is partially from Judahbuddha's on running backs and can't finish the job, etc. But it also has to do a lot with how I pay attention to players in general, and it's just consistency. If there's a guy who's been putting up 9, 10, 11, 12 points consistently, regardless of whether their running back is great or not, because especially if you look at like the Rams last year, Greg the Leg Zuerlein exploded. But yeah, the Rams still scored 30 points a game or whatever, even though he's kicking mostly extra points. I think a lot of times it just matters are the kickers consistently scoring points, which I think people like Brett Maher are a little bit dangerous. The guy who puts up 3, 5, 5, 18, 3, 6, 6. Yeah, they could get you that blow-up game. And I think especially if you're in a deeper league, yeah, the matchup definitely will work out for you. But I think in general, I just admired consistency the most, pretty much over everything.
Yeah, I agree. That and actually I had that thought this weekend of there was a game that I thought was going to be close. And I thought about like going with Meyer because he had a couple of impressive games and like kicked such long field goals. But you want that consistency, not the 16 point followed by the 5 point games. So
I think that I have been a Greg the Leg owner several seasons, and I wonder if there's something to be said about age. I wonder if there's something to be said about getting tired. Like there's no such thing as fresh legs for a kicker, there's nobody to come in and spell the kicker. So like Greg was kicking a lot of I'm thinking of particularly maybe not last year, but the year before. He was kicking so many field goals, and then at the end of the year, he just petered out.
Well, he did get injured, I think, for a week. I think he did hurt his legs.
Yeah, he got hurt. Yeah,
but yeah, okay. That is a concern. There's not like a
and you got to think last year too was after that Chicago game, or like it was really the Chicago game where like teams figured out, oh, this is how you destroy Jared Goff. And the Rams offense nosedived after that. So I think it wasn't really like, I'd have to go back and see like if Zuerlein was just missing kicks. I doubt that it was a case of them like not wanting to take a chance because, his accuracy had fallen off. I think it was probably more to do with the Rams just having more trouble moving the ball because teams figured out.
But they had that trouble at the beginning of this year, and he was pretty good.
Yeah, right. But they had trouble scoring. But sometimes it can be they have trouble scoring, but they're not having trouble getting in field goal range. Like last year, when Goff really started to tank, like man, they were just having trouble moving the ball. Period. So I didn't really see a lot of their games early this year. So I don't know exactly how it flowed, but I think they were better, but just not what they were before.
So what do you think about him going forward? I guess that's my question, because I've always been a big fan of his, and I have him in a couple of leagues. I get a little worried now at the end of the season with him.
I'm not really worried about him. I say I'm not worried about him specifically. With everything with the Rams offense, with Gurley and with Goff, and the fact that they couldn't even get the ball once to Cooper Kupp last week, the whole Rams offense would worry me a little bit, but I think Zuerlein's just so good. I think in some ways, most of the time it may actually be to his benefit if they can't score and just kick more field goals. Like I know with that game, it didn't. I think he had 4 points or something because they just couldn't move the ball, period. But I think most times he should be fine, I think.
Yeah. Rockouts asks, would you drop Goff for Foals or Wentz?
Yeah.
Both.
Probably both. Yeah. Because Wentz actually, after this week, has a pretty good schedule. The tough thing is Philadelphia just has no weapons. I mean, like Jackson's gone for the year. Alshon Jeffrey is just a shell of himself. They're going to have to basically just throw to tight ends and running backs. And so like you can get I think like a pretty consistent 19 points out of Carson Wentz, but he's not going to be giving you any Lamar Jackson numbers. But yeah, Foles for sure for golf, and probably Wentz too.
Is there one you'd rather take Foles over Wentz then?
I would, because I mean, just look at the weapons. I mean, but I mean, you don't know exactly. I mean, Foles is missed.
Rest of the season or this week or
rest of the season?
I'm assuming rest of season, because if you're dropping quarterbacks, especially I mean, with 4 games left in the regular season, you got to be thinking about more than this week. Like Wentz, again, he just doesn't have weapons like Foles. Can Foles be Minshew is really kind of the question. And Minshew was putting up, 20, 21, 22 pretty regularly. I mean, you got Chark, you got Westbrook, you got
true.
Conley, Fournette is actually catching a lot of balls now. So you worry about the rust with Foles, but I think you've at least got more potential there with him than what you have with Wentz.
It's a little bit, it's just a little bit of a question mark. We haven't seen him play with the team very much.
Right.
And he hasn't played with the team very much. It is true that Carson Wentz does tend to peter off at the end of every year. He gets hurt or something, There's got to be better. I wonder if there's would you take, what's his name from the quarterback for the Panthers?
Kyle Allen.
I think I would take Kyle Allen over all of them. I think who I think is going to start, even though he didn't have a great game last night. I think that Jimmy Polo is going to be a good choice going forward. Like compared to these guys, I would take Jimmy Polo or Kyle Allen.
It's hard for me to trust either one of those guys because they are in run first, run second, run third offenses. I mean, Carolina, it's like, all right, if Christian McCaffrey fails repeatedly, or maybe we'll pass. I mean, Kyle Allen is, I think, just going to have trouble getting the yards. Like Carolina has good playmakers. DJ Moore, Curtis Samuel. I've actually picked up Curtis Samuel in several leagues, and I started him over Juju last week, and he gave me 11.5 points because he caught a touchdown. He had 8 targets, but he just didn't catch that many balls or that many yards. I think, I have a hard time seeing Kyle Allen really put up good numbers. And Garoppolo.
He has.
Well, they've been decent numbers. They've been 15s. They've been fine.
Yeah, in good matchups, he's had really good games.
24, 3, 17.
So
at its finest.
Those are not his only games. That's like 3 was like his first game.
Okay, so here's his thing. So his first start against Arizona, he had 24.34 points. The rest of the time, I'm going to just chop off fractionals here, but he's had 3, 11, 17, 3, 15, 14. That's like quarterback juju. I can't take the chance on you giving me 3 points. I'm not. I can't roll the dice. I would feel a little bit better about Garoppolo, but man, I don't know. It would depend on. Let's see what his schedule is.
Who? Garoppolo. Garoppolo. Up and down.
It's not a good schedule. It's not a good quarterback wise schedule. I would say he's got. But remember, keep in mind, this is San Francisco's offense. San Francisco's offense is weird. They will go all run or all pass. They've got Arizona.
They're not going to be able to go all run. They don't have any running.
Yes, they do. They have Tevin Coleman. They have Matt Brady, who's injured, and now they've got Raheem Mostert, who did great against the Seahawks. To quote Gridiron Heights, deep dive circle back symmetry. Here's the thing. They've got the Packers, who do not have a good run defense. They've got Baltimore, who just gave up, fantasy-wise, 17 points to Joe Mixon. They've got New Orleans, who I don't know if Lattimore is going to do well. Atlanta, yeah, that's a bad pass defense. What if they lock up at the end of the year? And then they got the Rams, which, I mean, I don't know what they are at this point. That's not a great lineup. Foles is a much better schedule.
The better the team, the more chances I think the more he's going to have to throw. They're not going to be able to beat these teams with Breida and ham and egg, or what's his name? Coleman. Oh my gosh, they're not going to be able to win with Coleman.
He's going to be
and
better.
definitely
He's got a better schedule.
Mostert or whoever the other guy is.
But the other problem too, though, is we don't know. Maybe Kittle's back this week. We don't know for sure. But Emmanuel Sanders got hurt, and so we don't know what Emmanuel Sanders. For me, I don't touch. I don't feel good about Allen or Garoppolo. I would rather start like Daniel Jones or Sam Darnold.
Oh my god!
Wow. Yeah. Okay. I think it's Foles for this, especially since he said
no.
Since he said rest of season, because Foles gets Tampa, he gets Oakland, and then if Atlanta stays what they did against Drew Brees, yes, Thomas H., I am staring at your comment right now. Yes, Drew Brees, sure. They had a great game. If they keep it up, I'll give them all the credit in the world. But as of right now, still they play Atlanta, who's statistically the 5th worst defense against the pass. Much better than Garoppolo's schedule. Much better. Rock out, I'd go Foles.
Yeah. Foles easily for me.
No, I wouldn't go with either of these guys. Foles, I think Foles potentially could be, but it's like a huge question mark. We have no idea. I mean, he could be really good, but he could be really. I mean, you could get the Philadelphia Foles, or you could get the Rams Foles.
But Kyle Allen's had 2 3-point games. So is Foles' floor if Foles' floor is 1 point?
Kyle Allen's had 2 3-point games when he was getting to know the offense. I mean, the guy got thrown into the mix. He now that he's the guy, he's had time to gel with the rest of the team. I think you're going to see a lot better. He's not going to get any 3-point games.
Judahbuddha, he has had 1 game over 20 points. 1. That was his first game with the team. Everything else has been, I'll repeat what Jared said, 3, 11, 17 after the bye, 3, 15, 14. He has had since week 3.
Let me tell you something. Past performance is not an indication of future performance.
Don't tell that to Dr. Phil, because Dr. Phil will tell you that past behavior is the best indicator. He says it more like past behavior is the best indicator of future behavior. But
move on. We got a couple questions in the comment section.
It's not how it works in football.
So long. Our name asked Brian Hill, which is a good question. Hopefully this Thomas H will answer your question too. Is Brian Hill worth a number 1 waiver spot if you've clinched a playoff spot? Running backs are McCaffrey, Fournette, and Tevin Coleman. That's a good trio of running backs.
You want to go first, or you want me to?
Well, I guess the question you have to ask yourself is, if you're going to burn a waiver or spend a lot of the rest of your fab, the question is are you next week or the next week going to want to have Brian Hill on your bench, probably here, when, say, Zeke gets hurt, or probably more apropos, I think you could even pick up someone like Gallman, or say Cook gets hurt. You might want to rather have, and maybe you can pick up Madison as well. But Brian Hill, are you ready to play him when push comes to shove?
Well, he's saying right now it's just a waiver spot, number 1 waiver spot.
Yeah, I know, but he's already got clinched. Is this somebody? Are you trying to pick up somebody to be ahead of the game in your playoffs, or are you trying to if you want to win this week, pick up Brian Hill?
Jared, what do you think?
Yeah, same. I'm glad he mentioned or specified that he had already clinched a playoff spot, because that was going to be my question. I think that's the whole thing with Brian Hill is, what is your situation? Are you a Devonta Freeman owner? Then you probably need to pick him up. Are you like right in the thick of a playoff chase and you need a push? He's probably going to be the starter for 2 weeks, and Carolina doesn't have a tough run defense this week for him. So I think he is probably worth it for someone like that. But when you've already clinched a playoff spot, unless you're really worried about seeding, or, say you're in a private league where 6 teams get in and the top 2 have a bye, unless there's something with the seeding that really makes it worth it for you to, push to get a top spot, then, there's still a month left before the playoffs. I wouldn't burn my top waiver priority on a guy who's going to play for 2 weeks, maybe 3 if we're being generous, but who's probably then not going to be of use to you in the playoffs. I think if you've clinched a playoff spot that and seeding doesn't matter, then everything you do from this point forward is more about being able to win that week 15 game. And so I think you reserve it in case one of your guys gets hurt and you need to pick up a backup, or somebody else's player. Again, like you said, like a Zeke gets hurt and you pick up Tony Pollard, or Saquon gets hurt and you pick up Gallman. So I think you hold on to it.
Yeah, he says he's trying to build a playoff winning team right now.
Yeah, so in that case, I don't think, because Freeman's injury is not, it's going to cost him a couple weeks. Maybe we, push it to 3, but even if you say a month, he's going to be back by the playoffs. So I don't think Brian will help you.
But they're not trying to make the playoffs. I mean, if they win the next couple of games, and they are in but I think there's a strong possibility they shut the old man down.
Maybe, but if that's true, then you should be arguing for him to pick up Brian Hill. Then
I know. I haven't seen much from Brian Hill. I don't know how. Have you guys seen him? Did you see him play this week?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I watched the Falcons game, and switching between that and the Bears game. And the thing that impressed me most, and Thomas H, hopefully this answers your question a little bit about how with Freeman out for a couple weeks, doesn't trust the Falcons to run the ball. He ran the ball 20 times. And I'm a Freeman owner in a couple leagues, and I don't think I've ever seen Freeman hit 20 carries in a game, plus a receiving touchdown.
Yeah. And this week, again, they're playing Carolina. Carolina overall has been a pretty good defense, but they've been stronger against the pass than the run.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry ran all over them. The Packers ran all over them.
It's statistically third worst.
Yeah. They are just getting shredded on the ground. So even though the Falcons haven't been that good at the run, Devonta Freeman was catching a lot of passes, and so that was making it up for him. 2, Brian Hill had a good game against New Orleans last week, and 3, again, we just got through talking about how bad Carolina is. So, again, for me, it's like there are times where like 3 strikes and I'll disqualify somebody, but at the same time, if there's 3 reasons why, maybe I should play this guy, then I think that kind of gives them the green light.
Yeah. All right, we're going to scroll probably through these pretty quickly. Hopefully that answers your question, No Name and Thomas H. We're going to try to get through these pretty quick because we got quite a few of them. Ethan Mix-Gruffenstein, it's been a hot minute. Good to have you back. Michael Thomas or Deshaun Jackson?
Jackson's out for the year.
Yeah. He's on IR.
Yeah, even if he wasn't Michael Thomas all the way.
Screwing with us. Come on, he's screwing with us.
I don't know the guy. So
drop Miss Graphic Kevin. Drop Michael Thomas for Deshaun Jackson.
Oh stop!
Oh, he's screwing with
us. Oh my goodness. Okay. Next up, 710 says we were right on Kalen Ballage. Wasn't enough for him to win last week. Rough time. Let's see. No Name also said he's appreciated the help.
Time out. If you watch the show, all of us said Kalen Ballage is garbage. Do not touch him. Did he say he picked him up?
I think it was a rough league. He said. I think it was like a really, really deep league.
It's not rough enough.
You're right. I don't know if there's a league that's rough enough for Kalen Ballage.
I mean, come on. How many? I wonder how Gus Bus did. I didn't watch. How well did Gus Edwards do?
I don't think
all Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, it was. It was all Lamar.
Lamar sat halfway through the game, so it wasn't all Lamar Jackson game.
Well, but okay, so I mean, Ingram carried I think 9 times, and so Gus carried 4 for 17 yards, and he didn't catch any passes, so he had 1.7 points.
Oh man,
yeah. It really was Lamar. Like even I don't know.
He sat though, like halfway through.
Yeah, but it was like he had his joystick over there and he was controlling the players. So.
Rock out Omar Brea. We'll get to your stuff really fast. No Name says he appreciates the help. He's going to get Armstead for Fournette after waivers. I like that.
Armstead is a really good pickup.
Especially Fournette has had a bad injury history since LSU. I mean, he has a habit of getting hurt quite often. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting to. I want to look. Put a star though. Put a pin in Brian though. Brian Hill. I don't know. So, I don't know. He could be a league winner. You know, he could be one of those guys that comes in. Nobody really knows about him, and he comes in and tears it up.
That could be interesting. Rock out real quick says Foles' schedules: Tampa, LAC, Oakland, Atlanta. Wentz gets Miami, Giants, Washington, Dallas in the playoffs. That's why I like Foles, because he's got Oakland and either old or new Atlanta. I mean, that's to be determined. But Oakland itself is.
Wentz's schedule's way better.
Miami?
It's not. It's not way better. It's the Dolphins. We just got through talking about the Dolphins playing better. Mm-hmm. Well, number one, I'm not sure anyone is a worse pass defense than Tampa.
Yes.
Like if you could just if you allowed me to pick what defense my fantasy players would play against, I would pick Tampa for wide receivers. Chargers are not as good, but so I mean Wentz's schedule with the Giants and Washington that's pretty good.
Dallas isn't that great against wide receivers.
Well, he didn't play well against them in Dallas. Maybe he plays better against them at home. But again, like it's the weapons. Like they just re-signed Jordan Matthews. They just re-signed Jordan Matthews because they have Alshon Jeffrey, who's again not that great, and their other receivers just can't cut it. You know, they were kind of counting on Jackson to come back, and they probably should have traded for someone. But now, so now they've got Alshon Jeffrey, who's 30 playing like he's 45, and Jordan Matthews, and they've got a couple of tight ends and they've got a couple of running backs to throw to, and that's about it.
I think it's enough though. I think Goddard and Wentz. No, Goddard. Wentz is the Goddard, and who's the other tight end there?
Ertz. But I think
Goddard and tight end.
DJ, but when Foles has DJ Chark and D.D. Westbrook, I'll take that over.
Yeah, especially since Philadelphia is number 6 right now in drop passes in the NFL. I don't know. Omar Brea, welcome to the show. And yes, Lamar Jackson is absolutely the man right now. He says he needs a tight end, picked up Ebron on a hype. Plus, it's a dome game this week. If you heard earlier, we were talking a lot about Jacob Hollister. We were talking a lot about him. That could be a pretty good pick.
Yeah, but he doesn't play this week.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's true. My bad. Yeah. Oh, gosh. But, I did. Oh, I said your name right. I'm glad. There we go.
Yeah, Ebron didn't. The hype didn't work.
No, it wasn't the squeaky wheel getting the grease or anything. And again, like as a Colts fan, like reading all of the stuff, like just everybody's pretty down on him. Like dropped passes, and it's looking like that. It's looking like that 1 year was sort of I don't know if I want to call it a fluke, but just some sort of like Andrew Luck put just the perfect spin on the ball for him to catch it. And now Andrew's not there. So.
Yeah, but with Jack Doyle's there too. That doesn't help his case either.
That's true. Doyle missed a lot of time last year.
He had Ingram and Hooper. Oh, that hurts.
I'm one of those guys too.
I feel for you. That's rough.
What did 710 say? I got creamed and was.
Oh, he was talking about earlier that he got creamed, was 2-6 when it came down to what's his name, Balaj.
Come on, 710. We warned you though. Of course, I did say though, pick up Gus Bus instead. So he didn't do
it either. So Omar Abrea also asks, is Nelson Aguilar done? What do you think?
I was looking to see, because when they started talking about the fact that they had re-signed Jordan Matthews, that was one of my first questions, was like, okay, well, what's Aguilar done lately? Well,
Aguilar's not been bad. He's a good player.
Fantasy wise though,
he's like the Eric Ebron of wide receivers. He's going to get targets, but he's going to drop everything. So he had 8 targets, but he caught 3 of them for 21 yards.
Mm-hmm.
So he does have a case of the dropsies.
So weeks 2 and 3, he had 20.7 points and 19 points off double-digit targets, and then since then, he's gotten more than 3.6 points once, and that was 6.2. So I think they're just done with. I mean, he's not someone you can ever start. I think especially with re-signing Jordan Matthews, Jordan Matthews is a desperation.
You know what? You know who else has the case of the dropsies?
Who's that?
Jordan Matthews. I've never seen him drop the ball as much as this guy.
That's true.
What is it? What is it with Philly loving people that drop the ball? Man.
I have no idea. In those situations though, there's only one thing that you can possibly say that really hurts.
Oh.
All our viewers. It's going down.
Or can you say, "Oh my God, dirt"?
Ooh,
Goddard.
Good Godwin, keeping up with the sports puns. Omar Brea does say that he'll consider Hollister. He did put in work on the 49ers. Yeah, absolutely.
He's been putting in work for a couple of weeks now.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll be good rest of the season, I think. Also, we were talking about David Feld earlier. Also, if he's available, someone snatches Hollister.
Yeah, that's true. Shout out to Jared, though. He mentioned Hollister last week as a waiver wire pickup, I think.
Jared, stud.
Maybe so.
There you go. Mm-hmm. Sam Wilson.
What up, Sam Wilson?
Thanks for coming back. Oh, Omar Bray, real quick. Subs. He's going to hit up our next show. Thank you.
Nice.
We'll be live on Saturday as well at 11:30, 10:30 Central every Tuesday and Saturday. Sammy Wilson, we missed you, man. It's good to see you. It's good to see your purple YouTube logo face. Good to see you. He says, stash Burkhead. What do you guys think about Bill Belichick?
I'm stashing him.
Good luck figuring out that Patriots backfield and what it's going to be week to week. I mean, it's almost one of those things where you just need almost all of them to get hurt in order for him to just be down to like one option. But you also need them to get hurt like in the game, because if he has a week in between, then he's just going to sign some more random guys and then turn them into decent players. Yeah, like Cincinnati, they've got not Cincinnati, but New England. They're playing Cincinnati in the first round of the fantasy playoffs, and then they're playing Buffalo, which is not a great run defense. So if New England just had a guy that you could count on, that's a great matchup. But are they going to keep rolling with Sony Michel? Maybe. Are they going to give him the carries in between the 20s and then turn it over to Brandon Bolden? Maybe.
Don't get started.
Is it going to be Burkhead? Maybe. Is it going to be someone else? Maybe. So, man, it would be hard for me. I would have to be down to like some pretty limited options to try to roll the dice on that New England backfield.
Judahbuddha, you said you're stashing Burkhead. You want to go a little bit more in depth on that?
He's just somebody who's got skill. I feel like the rookie hasn't really flashed. I forget what his name is, but he's somebody who gets
Damian Harris.
Yeah, Damian Harris.
That's true. I forgot about Bolden being in there. I mean, it is a wild group of people, but I mean, you know me, I'm the guy who wants to go after the talent, and Burkhead's got a whole lot of it. He just has a hard time staying healthy. So if he's 100% healthy, I play him in a flex against a good matchup. I think he could be a decent play, but I don't know if he's fully he might be healthy now, but I think he's worth a stash. If you're talking about stashing Burkhead, you're like me. You're in a league that's like 16 teams, and there's like no running backs. I mean, in some of my 12-team leagues, there's no running backs on the waiver wire.
Oof.
Well, a lot of them, like even Brian Hill is taken at this point.
Ouch, that's crazy. See, here's my thing with Burkhead. Yes, Sony Michel is there. Yes, James White is there. Yes, Brandon Bolden is there. And therein are your three problems. It's because Sony's the main runner. White is going to get the passes. Brandon Bolden, for some reason, has 2 touchdowns. Tom Brady is the ultimate quarterback sneaker in the history of running quarterbacks who don't run. And Jared, to your point on that he's going to need someone to get injured to be a major factor, he is the one that gets injured. Burkhead's the most injury-prone player in the entire backfield. So, yeah, I think if you're in a deep league, he's worth a stash. But as of right now, I mean, unless it's a deeper league, I wouldn't stash him that much. Sammy Wilson says he's looking to trade him grouped with Taylor Gabes and Dak for a pre-week 9 Galladay type. Interesting.
Man, that is a deep league when you're like packaging Taylor Gabriel and Rex Burkhead with Dak to get a That's...
You guys all play in 10 and 16 leagues, so you don't know.
Yeah, it could be if the person's willing to trade with you for Rex Burkhead, then I'm like, yeah, I'm all for it at that point for a league that deep. But if I'm just keeping him in a regular league, I don't know how I do. Yeah, big payday. There you go. 710 does say that the Patriots run offense a 4-headed monster. Yeah, pretty much. And you never know what head's going to come out.
Or 5, yeah. I mean, like Burkhead, Michelle, Bolden, White, Brady. You know, like you said, I mean, that's the frustrating thing with Brady. I had a week where I had Sony Michel needed a big week from him. And it was Brady, like not even just like the little 1-yard pushes. They ran one in from the 4. He quarterback sneaked from the 4-yard line. So
Brady quarterback sneaked from the
4-yard line. I'm trying to think which game it was. I think it was maybe that Giants game. Maybe it was the Thursday night game because I was watching that and I'm like, oh, thank goodness they got it inside the 5, but they didn't get it to the 1 where Brady's going to do a sneak. No, he did a sneak and he ran it. Like I can't remember if he got it in on that 4-yard one or if he got it to the 1 and then snuck it in after that. But it was one or the other. So. Yeah, it's pretty frustrating.
You want to know something funny? Tom Brady has the 4th most rushing attempts on the team. He's averaging 0.2 yards a carry and has the 2nd most rushing touchdowns on the team.
Yeah.
That's surprising.
Hey, can we talk real quick? Go through our top 3 waiver wire picks, and then I got to get out of here.
That looks pretty much like that's pretty much it for our questions. So, yeah. Who wants to start us off? Judahbuddha. It's Jared. Who wants to go first?
Judah looks like he knows his guys. I'm gonna let him go first, and then
I'll go ahead and go. I do
say him. I'll type him. Let's go.
So this is a defense, so it's not my top one, but Oakland defense is probably out there on your waiver wire. I think it's only like 50% owned. They're playing Cincinnati. They're not a bad. They actually have developed into a really good pass rushing defense. So I would definitely go out and grab them if you have a weak defense. Deebo Samuel. This is a dude who was highly touted coming into the season, hadn't done anything, and decided to go off this week. Thank you, Deebo. Really appreciate that, man. Thanks. Him and his buddy Deebo Samuel and Bourne, actually. We didn't talk at all about Bourne. Bourne I think he had a bigger game because he had a longer touchdown or something. But Bourne on the same team, like these are two guys that are highly skilled. They're rookies, but they're highly skilled and could are they both rookies? But anyways, could be good waiver pickups. Now, the infinite sadness of wide receivers, probably want to go out, and Geis would be, if you're not going to pick up Brian Hill, which I'm starting to warm up towards Brian Hill. I think he may be a good pickup. But Geis is out there in 50% of leagues, I think, at least in Yahoo. No, I guess he's only about 40%. But he would be somebody who is they're going to try to find out if they have anything in him. He's been hurt for all last season, a lot of this season. If he doesn't get hurt again, they're going to run him out there. And side note, for this week, because I don't know if he's able to come back this week. Adrian Peterson might be a good pickup too. He's been doing really well. So that's what I got. What do you got, J. Rao?
Old man keeps running. Oh, real quick, 710 does ask. He came a little late. Who's the main waiver wire running back wide receiver to grab? What do you guys think?
Well, yeah.
Deebo Samuel, Brian Hill. Pretty much. Jared, who you got?
Oh, no. Well, Jared, go, because you probably have a better wide receiver that I missed.
I don't know that I do. It's pretty slim pickings. I was gonna go with running back to say, again, this is another short-term option too. But everybody's probably going to be going for Brian Hill, who's, again, he is the best pickup, but he's probably going to be a 2-week pickup or so. There's another guy that may just be a 1-week pickup, who's also a short-term guy. So, but J.D. McKissick for the Lions. So Ty Johnson, I guess, was concussed in that game, and McKissick ended up having a pretty good game. I mean, definitely he had some volume there. He got double-digit rushing attempts and some catches. So he only had 8.5 points. It's going to be tough with the Lions right now, especially if Stafford's out again.
Yeah.
But I think he could get you somewhere around 10 points if you're desperate. And again, if you're not picking up Brian Hill, and you need a running back, then what are your other options here? Wide receiver, yeah, it's I talked about some guys last week that were on a lot of my waiver wires, and like guys like Curtis Samuel, who probably shouldn't be out there, but he was out there. So I guess I'm going to go for maybe a guy that's going to be a little less, getting a little less attention because he's on bye this week, but I think if you could get like a combo of Sterling Shepard and Darius Slayton, because Slayton's production kind of depends on what happens with Sterling Shepard. Like if Sterling Shepard comes back, then he's the clear number one in that offense, and it hurts Golden Tate's value. But Slayton is a guy that, if he's out, like 2 of the last 3 weeks, here's Slayton's point total: 18, and then 1.1 against Dallas, and then 29.1 against the Jets. But the encouraging thing with him this week was he got 14 targets, 10 receptions, 121 yards, and 2 touchdowns. But I think, he's a guy who's going to get the red zone targets regardless. Golden Tate may be the number one guy, but, Golden Tate's also tiny. So, Slayton's 6'2", he's a bigger guy. You don't know if Evan Ingram's going to be in there or he's going to be hurt. So I like Slayton as a again, you can't use him this week. If you need somebody for this week, you're going to have to look at other options. But I like him as like a longer term fit. Some of the other guys I already talked about. Hollister at tight end. Nick Foles at quarterback. So
there you go. That and Omar, you pretty much put in Jared's motto: follow the targets.
Yeah, that's right.
That's how it works. 7-10 says we're going to try for McKissick and Josh Gordon. That's not bad. That's not bad. I don't think Gordon could. What do you guys think about Josh Gordon? That's a good question. He could end up being pretty good in Seattle. How did you guys like him?
Well, it's not so much he looked all right. The thing is Lockett out for a while. Lockett almost had to have surgery last night. He didn't. It's just going to be like a severe bruise. He might. I mean, they're on bye this week, so it's really hard to tell. He might come back from the bye and be fine. But I think it's worth stashing Gordon. He's obviously going to have a share in that offense. I hate to say this because I hate stashing Gordon, but he's definitely worth a stash. One guy that I failed to mention that I think could be a decent pickup this week. I just lost him. Well, Goddard, we talked about Goddard for tight end. I think Goddard would be a really good, somebody to pick up if you're really hurting for tight end. I think Goddard could have a big week this week.
Even with Ertz?
Yeah. I mean, he's had plenty of yards and a couple of touchdowns in the last couple of weeks. Who is the running back I was going to mention? McKissick. Oh yeah. So Wayne Gallman. I kind of feel like Wayne Gallman is one of those you just got to have him, especially if you are Saquon Barkley owner. Saquon Barkley is looking to be like a regular questionable tag guy these days. And I'm a little worried about his health going for the rest of the season. And I think Wayne Gallman would be so he's not playing. It's not somebody you can play this week, but it's definitely keep an eye on. And the guy mentioned Armstead earlier. Armstead is a really good player, and he could have a couple touchdowns even while Leonard Fournette's in there.
Yeah, we did talk about Armstead a little bit earlier. So I guess my only question with Gallman would be he still had a concussion earlier this year. Does that not worry you? Or his
one concussion. He doesn't have a history of concussions. He had just one concussion this week.
Okay. Omar says Josh Gordon's a wild card, but Thomas H says stop it. We've been asking, what about Josh Gordon for years?
I know.
Yeah, I can't get back on the Josh Gordon. Here's the thing. I would be if Lockett is out long term, but it doesn't sound like he's going to be. I could see him missing a week after they come back from the bye, but Gordon still had 2 targets, and I caught both those. But Metcalf was the one with double-digit targets. Yeah. He's having some trouble fumbling the ball because he lost another big fumble. But you look at how much they run the ball with Chris Carson. Yeah. Russell Wilson runs the ball some, and then you've got Lockett, Gordon, you've got Hollister catching the balls as tight end. Unless something happens where Lockett's out long term or Metcalf's out long term, I just don't see a path to a ton of targets. It's not like Josh Gordon's athleticism and talent are going to win out here, So he's just not the same player that he was several years ago. So I just don't see a real path to a lot of fantasy production here.
I think this kind of fits into the Green Bay Packers and Seattle Seahawks and Kansas City Chiefs scenario where you have enough weapons and a quarterback so good and so efficient that you may have a number one wide receiver like Devontae Adams, Tyler Lockett, etc. But then everyone else, it's going to be a question on whether they get a touchdown or not, because everyone else is going to get 4-ish targets a game. But then all the other wide receiver 2s, wide receiver 3s, the Geronimo Allisons of the world, the David Moores of the world, the Josh Gordons of the world, we don't know what's going to happen to them. It's going to be a big question mark. I think that's my big problem with Josh Gordon, is that he's in such a good and efficient offense that it hurts his fantasy value.
Yeah, but I think at this point, I mean, when you're looking at the waiver wire, everybody's going to have a lot of question marks. I mean, that's why they're on the waiver wire. You know, like I think he probably has the most upside of any of those people. Well, except for maybe, although he's not playing this week, Slayton could be, and especially with his schedule, could be a real nice ad.
Samuel Wilson says for the Seahawks, either Hollister or Lockett. He doesn't like Metcalf, and he thinks he's too physical. Interesting. What do you guys think about that? Because that is a good point. Metcalf is the guy who'll go up and catch a jump ball to the back of the end zone.
I don't understand. So he thinks Metcalf is too physical?
I think what he means is he's not technical enough in the sense that he doesn't run very good routes. And he's somebody who just relies on his physicality, which is pretty much true. But he doesn't get peppered. What's that?
Or injury potential as well. If you're
injury potential, but that's
physical.
That is true, but I mean, he's built like a house, man. That guy is.
But I mean, so were other people. So were Alshon Jeffrey. So were Brandon Marshall. So was Julio Jones. They were all guys who, yes, and Julio is a generational talent. But, I mean, they were all guys who could go up for the big play ball. And eventually, you get into enough jump balls, you come down to the ankle one wrong time, that you're in trouble. You're in trouble. I feel like he's a big dude. He's a strong dude. Sure, maybe he is a little bit slower. But the physicality is scary to me. I mean, for smaller guys, there's the danger that they'll snap. For big guys, you get the danger that they just use too much of their bodies.
So you agree with me that Julio Jones is a huge risk, and you would never put him on your roster, huh?
No, I didn't say that. I said he scares me, but like I said, and I quote, Julio Jones is a generational talent, end quote. Yeah. No, I'm not benching him.
I think another guy, like if you're needing a wide receiver, if you're in a deeper league that's still out there, is Deante Johnson for
him up
for Pittsburgh, because he's still. Again, I mean, I know Mason Rudolph is terrible. I don't want to have to start any receiver tied to Mason Rudolph. But if you're in a deeper league, I think Deante is like 18% owned. He's really kind of, even though he's technically the number 2 receiver in that offense, he's really kind of the number 1, because Mason Rudolph doesn't want to throw against to Juju, who's against the other team's top corner or whatever. So he's just had more of a rapport with Deante Johnson. Their schedule's not that scary coming up for a little while. They've got Cleveland a couple of times. They've got Cincinnati. So if you're in a deeper league, I think Deante's another guy with some upside there.
Interesting. We've been talking about him for a couple weeks. What were you going to say, Judahbuddha?
That brings up. Don't put it just on me. We'll keep doing that. Because this is a question for both of you guys. Go ahead. So this has brought up a question for me concerning people that have played with each other. So, what's his name? Rudolph has played with Washington. Washington all of a sudden did really well this week. They really started clicking. Another couple of guys that have Haskins and what's his name?
Terry McLaurin.
Terry McLaurin. Are they going to start clicking? Because they were like famous together in college, but they haven't done very well together at all. Does it just take a little time? Huh?
Famous in college? Famous. I wouldn't go that far. Yes, he went to Ohio State, but
they did well together. They did really well together.
Yes, they did do well.
I got into a Twitter discussion about this, and so so in our league, when I decided, hey, I'm going to stop playing around. I'm just going to go ahead and win this game. Terry McLaurin was one of the guys that I dropped. And so I mean, the main reason I dropped him was, number one, I realized like I'm going to have to drop somebody anyway because I'm going to need another quarterback next week. So who's it going to be? And McLaurin was the odd guy out. And my thinking was, I thought at the time, you know what? They're probably going to play Haskins the rest of the season. They want to see what they've got in him if they're going to have to go draft another quarterback next year. And I just don't trust him. I know he's had the rapport with McLaurin in college. But anyway, so that's what I did. And so then they did announce, I guess today, that Haskins is the starter the rest of the season. And then I got into a Twitter discussion about this where somebody's like, oh, yeah, but they've got that, rapport there, and I'm like, yeah, but I don't know that Dwayne Haskins has a great rapport with being an NFL quarterback.
Yeah.
So that's the thing to me is like, yeah, it's they did in college, but college is such a different game. And it's so much. I'm like, you can just you've got athletes that can just beat the tar out of other athletes, and in NFL, like you're matched up against good athletes almost every game. So you can't just out athlete the other team. So, man, Haskins has been kind of rough. So I didn't particularly want to drop Terry, but based on, my other option, I mean, he was like my fifth wide receiver behind DeAndre, Galladay, Tate, and Dede. And so I don't trust it for the rest of the season. I mean, maybe he proves me wrong, but we'll see.
Yeah. I agree with that. Sorry, go ahead. Do you want to say something?
No. I want to hear what you have to say.
Okay, look, you want to know why Cam Newton worked out so well as an NFL quarterback, even though historically when you throw a quarterback into a system as a rookie immediately, things don't typically turn out well. See David Carr getting sacked over 70 times. See Sam Bradford. See Jamarcus Russell. It doesn't end well when you just throw him into an offense. Dwayne Haskins was not the guy, A, the Redskins wanted to draft, and B, they weren't prepared. They threw him into an offense that he was not even ready for until he learns the Redskins offense. I mean, the Redskins are dead fish in the water right now. I mean, that's pretty much just official. I feel like the coaching thing going on while he was there wasn't great. It was just a mess overall with Dwayne Haskins. I don't have Scary Terry in any of my leagues, so I'm not a big thing, but I like him, but I'm not a Redskins fan this year at all. So I am not expecting great things so far. I'm not expecting great things.
I tend to disagree. I think they've had a bye. Their best player is Scorin McLaurin. Their future is Scorin McLaurin and Haskins. All they have left to do this year is to figure out how to get this working. Now, Haskins has a difficult. I think he's had only 3 throws beyond like 30 yards. I think probably beyond 15 yards, which is really bad for Scorin McLaurin. But I think that changes. I think they either put McLaurin in the slot, they do something to get him closer, or they have Haskins throw further, but I don't know.
And is this because you had inside Redskins head coach information?
Yeah.
One of my favorite things about Judah's analysis is always how he minimizes like the basic like core principle of what needs to happen, and so he's like, okay, all they need to do is just like figure out how to make this, successful.
Yeah, it's that simple. It's that simple.
It's kind of like, it's like, look, Chicago's fine at quarterback. All they need to do is get Mitch Trubisky to figure out how to throw a football. That's the only obstacle that's holding them back here.
No, but see here, the difference is here, though, that Haskins actually has shown to be a pretty competent quarterback, and he's getting better.
Not in the Redskins offense, so the Redskins are a mess.
he didn't. But you mean in college, though, right?
No. I mean in the NFL.
When?
The NFL.
When?
Like he's getting production. He's getting productions.
When?
I might be thinking about.
Yeah. We're gonna cut that off right there. Samuel Wilson says like Abs athleticism is overrated. Eric Courier says doesn't matter how athletic you've been, it's all the system. Point in fact, Michael Vick never quite in the right system. Yeah, that's a pretty decent point. I still love Michael Vick. Samuel Wilson also says trade for Josh Jacobs while you can. He's healthy and he doesn't care if he's not. That's true, but many of us are past the trade deadline.
Yeah, past the trade deadline unless you're in a private league. But it's like this time of year is actually a relief for me because up until the trade deadline, I just like in free time like sit around and obsess like, okay, what moves can I make? What can I offer? How can I make my team better? And so like once that's passed, I'm just kind of like, all right, well, I did all that I could except for waiver wire. So
well,
most people are in private leagues, though. Very few people play in
that's
pro
true.
leagues.
I guess that's true.
Yeah, I was thinking about this because we were talking about this, and I realized I was like, now I have been playing in pro leagues for a while, but just the like $25 leagues, like one every now and then. But you're kind of an interesting cat, like a unique person as far as my experience is, Jared, in the sense that. Like most people I know got into fantasy football because of their social network, their social circle, and they're usually in church league, school league, or they're in it for the people that they know. But you're in it as more of a professional. You're in it as sort of a lone wolf making money, and I've never really seen that before. And I think it's genius. I'm going to try to do it next year because all these pro leagues are full of people that don't have like church leagues or school leagues or whatever. And they're just like, well, I'm going to show these people,
Yeah.
And they're not as good as you.
They're not. Well, yeah. And yeah, basically part of it comes down to like, I don't want to take money from people I know. And plus, like eventually people will like get wise to me taking money from them. And so, so it is easier for me to just play with strangers and where I just have, just no conscience about it,
Real quick. We got two last questions and a mini thing to end us off. 710 says he had Kyler Murray to cover Deshaun Watson's bye week. That worked out not too bad for you. Should he trade Murray now? Because his deadline's the 22nd. Private league.
Yeah, I would if you can like, and the same thing with, to a lesser extent, Christian Kirk. I'm so proud of my Christian Kirk prediction because
that was, by the way, kudos.
Golden.
Because I said he would have a career game and he had I think 138 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
But again, it was like that Tampa matchup. And so like Kyler Murray's, he's good. But his schedule's not the best. And if you've got Deshaun, then, again, now Deshaun can be a little bit, not exactly boom or bust, but Deshaun can give you some 15-point games and then some 30-point games. So, he's got a floor still. But his playoff schedule's good. If he's healthy, I like Deshaun and, I would probably look to trade Kyler. Yeah.
Judahbuddha, what do you think?
Oh yeah, trade Kyler. I love Deshaun Watson, and if you can get something for Kyler. By the way, big kudos to if you listened last year, which I don't think anybody here has. Well, actually, Thomas has, but yes, Mr. AJ Herschel, the kid, he was a huge proponent of Watson when Watson was doing terrible.
Loved him at Clemson. Loved him in Houston. Yep.
And I got to put a cape on Deshaun at one time, so I'm a big Deshaun fan. So
there you go.
And I got nothing.
You have no connection to Deshaun. You're the weakest link, and you're out.
We're sorry,
I've got this one mini thing, and then we're gonna finish. Oh gosh, Judahbuddha.
I'm popping up everywhere.
There he is. I've got one mini thing, and then we'll have our last question to finish this off tonight. So, Judahbuddha gave his apology to Derrick Henry earlier today. If y'all missed it, you should go ahead and watch that at the beginning. But
don't fast forward through the first.
No, watch the very beginning prior to his apology to Derrick Henry.
First few minutes, it is absolutely incredible. You will never see better fantasy. But
we got another mini.
This is not a formal apology. This is a mini apology to my beloved Bears. Mitch Trubisky, we were joking last week about putting you in our lineup against Detroit's terrible pass defense and that it would look incredible if you actually did well. And you put up 25 points. And I owe you an apology for being down after 5 straight decent weeks. So well done, Mitch. You have restored some of my faith in you. Please help us to get to a winning record. That's all I got. That's what I'm gonna say. There we go.
Keep that.
Both of you guys owe Mixon an apology.
I went back and looked at that. I said nothing bad about Mixon himself. I went back and looked at it, and I did talk about the situation. I did not trash Mixon the way you trashed Derrick Henry.
Why would I trash Derrick Henry? He's one of the best players in the NFL.
That's a good.
Every game.
Watch the first few minutes of this episode. You'll see 2 of the greatest things in fantasy you've ever seen. This is going to be our last question to finish us off. Eric Courier asks, talking about fantasy projection or question marks, should I pick up LaDainian Tomlinson or Randy Moss? Help!
He's making fun of the fantasy production.
Well, who do you got? Who do you got here? Who do you got?
Who would you take?
Randy Moss. Me?
Well, it depends. Like, which Randy Moss is this? Is this Patriots, Vikings, or Raiders Randy Moss? I mean, I guess you've got like a 2/3 chance of coming out pretty good there. But
yeah, and also, are we talking Chargers Randy LT, or are we talking decent Jets LT?
Oh, is that so? Is that what he's saying? Like, did they have really good production with one team? See, this is like
he's picking these guys up this week.
But are these guys that had really good production with one team and they went to another team and were just terrible?
Okay, LT played on the Chargers for like 12 years. He was a stud.
He set the touchdown record, or which record was it? I think it was the single season touchdown record, wasn't it? Yeah.
Something like that, yeah. And I think he's number 6 all time now in rushing yards because Frank Gore is now number 4. So I don't know. I mean, LT's got the constant production. Randy's a little bit boomer bust with the Raiders, but keep in mind, LT's retired, and Randy Moss still works on NFL Network. So he's still getting production. And this is Vikings Randy Moss, he says. This is Vikings Randy Moss.
Oh, okay. Well, the only trouble with Randy Moss might be like lately he's had some trouble getting to the right city. I don't know if you watched if it was Fox or which network he's on. But anyway, so he got on a flight going to Bristol to tape the show, and he ended up in the wrong state. He ended up in Bristol, Tennessee, not Bristol, Connecticut.
Oh my goodness, that's not good.
So maybe give LT the edge for being in the right city at the right time.
There you go. Well, keep in mind though, he was the longtime Charger and they moved to LA. You might have a problem finding them too. I mean, it's same state, but that's confusing.
True. Well, and he's going to show up at the stadium, and it's going to look like a home game for the away team, and so he's going to be confused by that. So yeah,
who truly has the home field advantage?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Great stuff. Okay. One last thing before we go. We need a little update. The Brown versus Ridley bet. What are we at? +4 for Brown.
What do we bet it? What did we say for touchdowns or what? What do we bet?
I think it was just overall fantasy points, but let's see. What are we scoring on there? Are we scoring on full point PPR?
Half point PPR.
Here. We'll work out the stuff. We'll work out the details of this later.
No.
But either way, he's winning technically in any way you put it.
Yes.
Technically, he's ahead. Now,
Yeah,
I have to say, the Hooper injury is worrisome to me. If Hooper continues to be injured, that could hurt the bet. But you're going to see a big game from Brown this week.
Yeah, it could be interesting. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to wrap us up for another episode of the RotoHackers Podcast. My name is A.J. Herschel, also known as The Kid. That is Judahbuddha, the master of formal apologies. And we have, it's Jared, the stud, the man in black. It's Jared, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Samuel Wilson, 710, Eric Courier, thanks for hanging on till the end. Omar Abrea, thanks for the subscribe. Thanks for subscribing. Out in California, we'll see you next time. Thomas H., everyone else who tuned in. I know I'm not mentioning everyone, but we want to thank you so much. We'll be live on Saturday morning at 10:30 Central, 11:30 Eastern. We will see you all next time, where the stud will return with more predictions.
Good luck on the waiver wire tonight.
This has been the RotoHackers Podcast. Good luck on the waiver wire. We'll see you next time.